So you'll see some YouTube channels that have their mock draft, but it's just the lottery, and you have the same players just recycled over and over. No. Then some YouTubers, they'll do the full first round, and yeah, that's pretty good, I guess. But guys, today in mock draft 5.0, we are doing the entire first and second round. Guys, thanks for checking out the channel today. My name is Troy, and this is the Half Court Report. Please do me a solid and like this video and subscribe. Videos like this take a lot of research, a lot of editing, just a lot of time to do. So please show some love by supporting the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. NBA Mock Draft 5.0. Pick number 1 going to be made by the Atlanta Hawks. They are selecting Alex Sarr. He is a 7'1", 220-pound big man from France, 7'5" wingspan, only 18 minutes a game, and his numbers don't really pop off the page for a top pick, but you are drafting Sarr for his Sarr potential, okay? His defense, maybe his offense will catch up eventually, but he's a good help defender who protects the rim. Could eventually be the type of player who stretches the floor as well, so he can add that to his offensive game. Maybe a Nick Claxton, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson Jr. type of player. But I do like the fit here with Atlanta. Clint Capella, he's on an expiring deal, so you trade him. And I think he complements Onyeka Okongwu pretty well in that Hawks front court. Who knows what's going to happen with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, but we do know the Hawks will get him a good one with pick number 1. Hopefully, anyway. Pick number 2, going to be made by the Washington Wizards. The pick is in, and it is Donovan Clingan, the UConn big man. 7'2", 265 pounds. This dude's enormous. But he was a big part of that UConn team that won their second straight NCAA championship. And you're drafting this guy hoping he can become like a Walker Kessler, Brooke Lopez kind of player down the road. But he dominates the paint with his size. Very physical center. He makes the right reads when the defense collapses. He can block shots. He can rebound on a permanent basis. One of the most effective players that we saw in college ball. He does have some injury concerns, and with big men, that always kind of makes you go, yikes. But he's just too talented to pass up. There are rumors that Zachary Rizachet, who you are going to see coming up, would be the pick if Alex Sarr is off the board. But, you know, if I'm Washington, I draft Clingan. That way you have your defensive anchor for the next 10, 12 years. Pick number 3, going to be made by the Houston Rockets. They are selecting Reed Sheppard from the University of Kentucky. Guys, did you check out my latest Reed Sheppard video? Make sure you do. He's the new Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical. But I really like Reed's game. He can put the ball in the basket. He has a very quick release. He's lethal from downtown. And he just gets after it on the court. Over 2 steals per game. This guy just has lots of skill. He's a good connective piece and will fit well with the Rockets if they pick him here. I think there's a good chance that Houston may move this pick for veteran help. But I think Reed Sheppard could be the backup to Fred VanVleet and also contribute to this team immediately right off the jump. Then in a couple years, he can be the starting point guard. You got Amen Thompson in the backcourt as well. That's a really electric backcourt if you're the Houston Rockets. So that's who I would pick. Pick number 4, going to be made by the San Antonio Spurs, and they are going with Stephon Castle. He was actually a teammate of Donovan Clingan. He improved as the season went on and ended up with pretty solid numbers. He impacts the game with defense, passing, being a connective piece, as I've talked about before. The jumper needs to improve a little bit, but if it does, you're looking at a guy who could end up being the best player in this draft. I love the hustle, the defensive mindset that he would bring, and he says he wants to be a point guard in the NBA. Well, the Spurs have an opening in that area because Trey Jones, probably more of a backup long term. So Stephon Castle, you're the man for the Spurs at pick number 4. Pick number 5, going to be made by the Detroit Pistons. And I said the name already, Zachary Rizachet is the pick. 6'9", 200 pounds, out of France. He's got that quick release on his jumper. He's hard to guard. He moves well off the ball, gets to his spots. He's a good cutter. Is also one of the youngest players in this draft. Big question with him is his lack of shot creation. So I don't know if I see superstar with this guy, more so like third or fourth starter on a good team. But Detroit, they need shooting. I think positionally he fits in well with this team, and he is another good young piece to add to this Pistons roster. Pick number 6 going to be made by the Charlotte Hornets, and I have them selecting Buzelis, 6'10", about 200 pounds, out of the G League. With his length and skill set, I think Modest can be plugged into multiple positions on the court. He handles the ball like a guard, solid rebounder, can get some blocks too. He needs to add some weight to his frame. He did that some in the G League, but I'd like to see him get a little bit stronger. But there is a lot to like about Modest Buzelis as an NBA prospect. He has lots of upside. He just needs to be more consistent, especially with shooting the ball. If he becomes a knockdown shooter, then he's going to be really, really good for the Hornets. Pick number 7 going to be made by the Portland Trail Blazers. They are selecting Tidjane Salaun, also out of France. Tidjane has a smooth stroke. He's going to have no issues translating that to NBA range, I don't think. He can attack the rim on cuts. He can drive to the hoop. Questions are about his feel for the game, but he is super young, even younger than the other guys I just mentioned a second ago. But I think he's worth taking a flyer on due to his potential. He's been getting comparisons to like the French Giannis. Now that may be a little bit overblown, but I do see him rising up draft boards, and I think he's going to be a top 10 pick when all said and done. Portland, they have their backcourt shored up, so I think Salaun can be another guy to develop and another young piece to add to the Trailblazers. Pick number 8 going to be made by the San Antonio Spurs. This is the result of the Jakob Poeltl Toronto Raptors trade. So another lottery pick, and they are going with Dalton Knecht. Is Dalton Knecht like the new Jimmer Fredette of this generation? I don't know. The dude just fills it up from beyond the three-point line and just really all over the floor. Super talented offensively. Just shoots the cover off the ball from anywhere. But he's bigger than Jimmer. He's also way more athletic. His defense isn't quite NBA level, so he will need to work on that. But when he catches fire offensively, this dude is so fun to watch. And I love the shooting that you would be surrounding Victor Wembanyama with. I think that's a really good match here on the Spurs. So if the Spurs come out of this draft with Stephon Castle and Dalton Knecht, those are two really nice pieces moving forward. Pick number 9 going to be made by the Memphis Grizzlies. Hey, that's my team. Guys, are you ready for this pick? Zach Edey, the 7'5" monster out of Purdue, is the pick. They would love to have Donovan Clingan, but Edey is the consolation prize. But I think he's got a lot of talent. He's just too good not to succeed in the NBA. Low post savant, sets huge screens, which when you have Ja Morant on the team, that's a definite need. He's got great touch around the hoop. He gets to the line a ton, converts his free throws well. So that leads me to believe maybe he could extend his range a bit too. Questions are, how well does his game fit with the modern NBA? Is he too slow? Who's he going to guard? But regardless, this is a guy who I think is going to contribute into the NBA from day one. And there's just too much going on for me to think that Zach Edey isn't going to get major consideration at this number 9 pick. There were questions at the NBA Combine related to the Grizzlies, and he talked about how much he would love to play for that team. His former coach in high school is a friend of Ja Morant and his trainer. So there are lots of connections between Edey and the Grizzlies franchise. So I have him going here at number 9 to Memphis. Pick number 10 going to be made by the Utah Jazz, and they are selecting Nikola Topic. He's a guard from Serbia, another young player in this draft. He won the MVP of the 2023 Under-18 European Championships last summer. So pretty talented guy, great court vision, high basketball IQ, smooth jumper, just a little bit inconsistent. You're going to hear me say that a lot about these guys, but needs to work on that a little bit as well as his defense. But there is a ton to like with Nikola Topic. Pick number 11 going to be made by the Chicago Bulls, and they are going with Cody Williams. Now, Cody was actually a top 5 pick earlier on in this draft cycle. I have him slipping a little bit here, but I think there's talent for sure. He's the brother of OKC guard Jalen Williams, so talent, it runs in the family. But Cody is good at getting the ball in his spots. He uses his length on defense to guard multiple positions. And, I don't have to tell you this. There is value in long, versatile wings in the NBA. So Cody is going to tick a lot of boxes in that area as to what scouts are looking for in young players. But he does need to show up every game, be consistent, make an impact. But the Bulls, their roster is kind of in flux right now, so I like them taking a chance on Cody Williams at number 11. Pick number 12 going to be made by the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Kyle Filipowski from Duke is the pick. He can shoot it from the perimeter. He can attack heavy closeouts, bring the ball up the floor, and grab and go situations. His passing, I think, has taken a nice leap this season. More comfortable reading the court than he was maybe in years past. He also won't kill you defensively. The Thunder, they're a little thin in the front court, and I'd say that Filipowski is probably the most talented big man that you're going to get in that spot at this time in the draft. So pair him with Chet, and I think you got something. Pick number 13 going to be made by the Sacramento Kings, and Rob Dillingham is the pick. Quite a fall in this draft for Dillingham, but he's a pure athlete, blazing speed, great hops, electric on the court, plays above the rim, really good handle, creates for himself, creates for others, just all around solid point guard. 44% from three on over 4 attempts, and Kentucky guards also tend to do well in the pros. There are questions about Malik Monk and his future with Sacramento since he's a free agent, but I think Dillingham, he could maybe fill that Malik Monk role and be that third guard on a team, bring him off the bench, let him cook the opposing benches. Pick number 14 going to be made by the Portland Trailblazers, and they're selecting Ron Holland. He was Modest Buzelis' teammate in the G League. Holland also slipping a little bit in this draft. He was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school, but he's athletic. He's got a great motor, super aggressive. His shooting does leave a little bit to be desired, especially if you dive into the analytics. His shooting numbers were kind of scary, but if he improves that, you're going to have something here, maybe a Jimmy Butler type player, but lots of room for growth with Holland, and I think he can legit be an all-star down the line if everything breaks right. Lots to like about Ron Holland. Pick number 15, going to be made by the Miami Heat, and Devin Carter is who I have them selecting. He transferred to Providence this year and just blew up offensively. He was already a great defender. Now he's got a little bit of an offensive game too, but I see him as a riser going up these draft boards. I don't know if he'll be a top 10 pick, but I see him right around in the upper teens, into lottery, beginning just outside of lottery, but very low bust potential with Devin Carter. His father, Anthony Carter, played for Miami, so he's been around that NBA game his entire life. So maybe he is the Heat culture kind of guy that Miami would be seeking with Devin Carter. Pick number 16, going to be made by the Philadelphia 76ers. Jacoby Walter is the pick. He is instant offense. He's got that shot-making ability, the way he stretches the floor. Really good in catch-and-shoot situations, even if he's got a hand in his face. But he's a confident player. He tries on defense. Maybe not as high of a ceiling as some of the players I've talked about, but I do see low bust potential with Jacoby. And guys like this tend to succeed in the NBA. Plus, the Sixers need guys who can step in right away and contribute, and I think that Jacoby Walter would be that type of player. So Jacoby Walter, pick number 16 for Philly. Pick number 17 going to be made by the Los Angeles Lakers, and Tristan da Silva is the pick. This is a guy who just knows how to play. He's a big forward who has great floor spacing ability, good decision making, high basketball IQ, just a good connective piece for a team, always moving, always cutting, finding the open man, and just, every team needs a guy who's not going to just stall the ball, okay? And when you're playing with superstars like LeBron and AD on the Lakers, you need guys who know their role, who can hit the open shot when it comes to them. So that's why I like Tristan da Silva for the Lakers at number 17. Pick number 18, going to be made by the Orlando Magic, and Yves Missy is the pick. 7 feet tall, 7'5" wingspan, good athlete, rim runner. He's blocking shots all over the place. Yeah, a little bit of a project, but also one with elite tools if he puts it all together. Orlando, they're already pretty good. Maybe they can afford to wait a little bit to see what they have with Missy. So he could be really good, or he could be Kai Jones. Personally, I'm not a huge fan, but I do see why teams like him so much. Pick number 19 going to be made by the Toronto Raptors, and they are selecting Isaiah Collier. What a steal to get Collier at number 19. He was the number 1 guard coming out of high school last year. Had a so-so up and down season for USC, but he's a pass-first point guard. He does turn over a lot, so that's kind of a problem, but he excels getting downhill. He finds open teammates. He's got a lot of strength. He can be an impactful defender when he's locked in. Questions, though, still exist about his feel for the game and his shooting ability. So this late would be a great get for Isaiah Collier. So he could end up being an all-star, could end up being like another Emmanuel Mudiay. We'll have to see. Pick number 20 going to be made by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're going with Jared McCain from Duke University. 6'3" freshman, but I like his game. He plays hard, really good shooter. I would like to see him play make a little bit more if he's going to be the lead guard on a team, but I like the fit in Cleveland, especially since there are lots of questions about what's going to happen with Darius Garland, what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. So bring in another guard to help solidify that position. Pick number 21 going to be made by the New Orleans Pelicans, and they're going with Khalil Ware. Now, Ware is a 7-footer with a 7'5" wingspan. A lot of similarities, at least in their size, to Yves Missy, who I just talked about, but also similarities because there is a lot of raw tools that need to be worked out with Khalil Ware. But he's got a decent post game. He can stretch the floor a little bit. He's a big-time athlete. He's explosive around the rim, good leaping ability, great length. Very similar to Missy. Sky is the limit. He could be Jared Allen. He could be Kai Jones. We'll just have to see. But pick number 21, Khalil Ware to the Pelicans. Pick number 22, going to be made by the Phoenix Suns. I know you're waiting for this name. Bronny James. You're a first-round pick in Mock Draft 5.0. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a surprise seeing Bronny this early in the draft, but I think the Suns are a potential landing spot for him because they are only one of 2 teams, the Lakers being the other, that he has agreed to work out for. James Jones, who is the general manager of the Suns, is also buddies with LeBron from their playing days with Miami and Cleveland. So there's some history there. So I think Bronny has a legit shot being the pick for Phoenix right here. I don't know, call me crazy. I just have a feeling about this one. Pick number 23 going to be made by the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee. Algonquin for the good land. And Jalen Tyson will be enjoying the good land of Milwaukee. He's one of those guys who I think can step in and play right away. Milwaukee needs those kind of guys. He had a great year for Cal. He can shoot, he can defend, he can rebound. He was asked to do a lot for his college team, but I think you get him with other NBA players, and he's going to be a really nice complementary piece. Pick number 24 going to be made by the New York Knicks, and they're going with Deron Holmes. Deron Holmes, solid interior player who is beginning to show flashes of a perimeter game. He protects the rim well. Pretty strong dude inside. I think he can expand his game even more. You know, there's questions about Isaiah Hartenstein. He's a free agent. Is he going to be back? So, you know, good to have a backup big man with Deron Holmes. Hey, I liked picking for the Knicks so much. Let's do it again for pick 25. They're going with Tyler Smith this time. 6'11", stretch big. He shoots and rebounds the ball pretty well. Does need to get stronger. His defense isn't the greatest. He's going to take some time to develop, but he's a former 5-star recruit, lots of talent. Maybe similar to former Orlando Magic player Rashard Lewis. But I say get Deron Holmes at pick 24, a guy who can contribute right away. Pick 25, take a flyer on a guy like Tyler Smith. Let him marinate in the G League for a few years. I think those are 2 pretty good picks in the 20s. Pick number 26, going to be made by the Washington Wizards. They're going with Bub Carrington. What up, Bub? You are the pick for the Wizards. Bub I see kind of in the same mold as Bones Highland, just a bucket getter off the bench. But I like him better as a playmaker than I did with Bones. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Lou Williams if everything works out with Bub. And that'd be a pretty good pick this late in the draft, especially for a team like Washington who needs a whole lot of stuff. Pick number 27, going to be made by the Minnesota Timberwolves, KJ Simpson. Kevin James Simpson, you are the pick. If this dude were 5 inches taller, I think he'd be a top 5 pick, but he's only 6 foot. What I like about KJ, he shoots it well, he's got a quick release, he can rebound even though he's on the shorter side, he defends well, just a great floor general, playing like a veteran when he's out there on the floor. Minnesota needs a backup point guard, and I think he would learn from one of the best in Mike Conley. You call me crazy, but I actually think there's a chance that once Mike Conley moves on from Minnesota, that KJ Simpson could step in and be the starting point guard for the T-Wolves. That's my opinion. Pick number 28, going to be made by the Denver Nuggets, and Johnny Furphy is the pick. Lawrence, Kansas's finest by way of Australia. But Johnny had an up-and-down season for the Jayhawks, but he's a guy who's super athletic. He shoots it well. He rebounds it. Just tough as nails. He's got like that Australian football background too, so he's going to get after it whenever he's on the floor. But put him on a team, let him develop the right way, and he can be really, really good. He showed lots of improvement in the last year, so he's still developing. Not a finished product by any means. I mean, like a year ago, he was not even on the draft radar at all, and now I have him as a first-round pick. So I think Johnny Furphy could actually get some minutes because he is just such a guy who gets after it when he's out there on the floor, and I think he's a pretty fun guy that his teammates would like to play with too. Pick number 29, going to be made by the Utah Jazz, and Bobby Klintman is the pick. He's from Sweden. He played for Wake Forest for a year, and then last year he played in Australia. So maybe some untapped potential with Bobby Klintman because he's got the size, he's got the skills, excellent on the break, he can handle, he makes nice passes. He's 6'11", so he definitely looks like an NBA player, but I kind of get like Anthony Randolph vibes from this guy a little bit. Who knows, maybe he'll surprise me, but could be a good developmental piece for the Utah Jazz and their rebuild. Pick number 30, last pick of the first round, but don't go away because we have a whole nother second round. Pick number 30, going to be made by the Boston Celtics. Baylor Shireman is the pick. He was a killer in college. Just look at those stats. Nice all-around game, really fills up the box score. He can rebound it, he can shoot it. I mean, not that great of an athlete, so he may struggle defending some at the next level. But in a league that values shooters, I think he's going to get a long look. I think it was Drew Holiday. He had a quote that said, even the white guys on this team defend. So maybe they can teach this white guy to defend. Not this one. Baylor Shireman is who I'm talking about. They can maybe teach me to defend too. I don't know. But Baylor Shireman, he's the pick for Boston. All right, before we get into the second round, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. So we only have 28 picks in the second round instead of 30 because 2 teams lost their pick because of just some sort of shenanigans of some sort, but they had to forfeit their pick. So 58 picks total. And a lot of these guys, you know, you may see them as developmental pieces that are going to stay overseas. You may see them as guys who are going to be in the G League as two-way contracts. And, you know, you're always going to have a couple guys who are actually pretty good. So pick number 31, so first pick of the second round, Toronto Raptors. They're going with Justin Edwards in mock draft 5.0. 6'7" wing out of Kentucky. Long, athletic player, pretty good defender. He was the number 3 recruit in the class of 2023. So you're drafting Edwards with the hope that the down year he had at Kentucky was just maybe kind of an anomaly or a product of the system that they were running. You're hoping that you can get this guy as a super athlete with all-star potential down the road. But he has the tools and the look that NBA teams love, so maybe a good guy to develop for the Toronto Raptors. Pick number 31 going to be made by the Utah Jazz, and Cam Christie is the pick, brother of Max Christie from the LA Lakers, but Cam is your prototypical two-guard, elite three-point shooter, beautiful footwork, beautiful stroke. He can drain threes off movement or pulling up off the dribble. He can pass it as well. Solid defender. He's got some length. He plays hard and can make an impact throughout the game on the perimeter or inside. Could see him going in the late first round even, but Cam Christie, I think, is kind of moving up draft boards as we get closer to it. Pick number 33, going to be made by the Milwaukee Bucks, and Tyler Kolek is the name. And point guard is his game. He's a pure playmaker, makes his teammates better. He can catch fire as a scorer too, attacks the basket, smart defender, hits the three. Something about these Marquette guys, they're always tough as nails too. So keep them right at home in Milwaukee. The Bucks can use a backup at point guard, and I think Tyler can come in, give you 15, 20 minutes a night right away. Pick number 34, going to be made by the Portland Trailblazers. Nikola Jurisic is the pick. Look at this guy, so special. He's got the D in his name with a line through it. La-di-da. But Jurisic, he's a shooter, but he can be streaky in that regard. Pretty good numbers in Europe, as you can see on the screen there, but nice feel for the game. Portland, they've got lots of picks, so this is a guy they can stash away for a couple years overseas, let him develop, and he could turn into something down the road. Pick number 35, going to be made by the San Antonio Spurs, Pacome Dariet, another French player, but good shooting potential for Dariet. He moves well without the ball to get open, good basketball IQ, maybe some defensive potential down the line as well. And now Vic has another guy he can complain about pop with in his native tongue. Pick number 36, going to be made by the Indiana Pacers, Keyshawn George, University of Miami is the pick. Another guy who looks the part of an NBA wing. He shoots it well, he's a strong passer. Questions about his body and his athleticism, but he's one of those 3-and-D guys that teams, they just can't seem to have enough of. Indiana, they can let him develop a little bit. Kind of get like Brandon Ingram vibes from this guy. So if you can get a Brandon Ingram type of player at pick number 36, that's a home run, you know. Pick number 37, going to be made by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Jalen Bridges is the pick. Quintessential role player who enhances his teammates with his 3-and-D skills. Maybe has a little bit of a higher upside too, but he's a shooter with clean mechanics. He can run off screens. He takes threes off the dribble. High IQ player, competitive defender with a long wingspan. Minnesota, they could use more shooting and guys who can play right from the jump. So Jalen Bridges, you are the pick. And number 38, New York Knicks again. They are going with Jonathan Mobo. I'm really liking this guy's game. Mobo was a late bloomer who was just shooting up draft boards. No outside shot for Mobo as of now. He does all his work inside in the paint, but he was one of the most efficient scorers in college. Dude is just money at the rim. He's athletic, strong finisher, great rebounder, passes the ball okay as well. His game kind of reminds me of Kenneth Faried, if y'all remember him when he was with the Denver Nuggets for several years. Kind of get Faried vibes, Manimal vibes with Jonathan Mobo. Pick number 39, going to be made by the Memphis Grizzlies and Trenton Flowers. Numbers, you know, they don't jump off the page for Trenton Flowers, but loads of potential for the former high school star. He's a good driver. He doesn't shy away from contact. He's a lob threat who feeds off set plays to get dunks. He runs the floor hard in transition. He's developing as a shooter and a defender. A real boom or bust type of player. So he played last year for Australia. And again, maybe it was one of those things. Was it just playing in a pro league for the first time? Was it the system? You know, is he a better player than what he was able to show? Or, you know, maybe he really is a player who just is going to average a couple points a game. I don't know. But I say give him a shot. He can't be any worse than what Zaire Williams is going to bring you, and I feel like they have some overlap in their games. Trenton Flowers is the pick for the Grizz. Pick number 40, Portland Trailblazers are going with Oso Ogundoro. Oso Ogundoro from El Segundo. He is your standard defensive player, low post scorer, rim runner kind of guy. Not going to get threes with him. He doesn't shoot it from there, but he's got a good touch around the hoop. And you know I love those Marquette guys, so I would like to see him as a better rebounder and rim protector. But Oso Ogundoro and his El Dorado is the pick for Portland. Pick number 41, going to be made by the Philadelphia 76ers, Kevin McCullough. You're the pick. Come on down. Another Jayhawk. He had some shooting success this past year, but does need to show that that wasn't a fluke and that he can do it consistently. But I think he's a pretty good two-way player, solid basketball IQ. He hustles, he makes plays for teammates. I do see some injury concerns with McCullough, but he's just too good to fall much past this 41 pick. I think he can contribute right away for Philly, and as I mentioned before, they need guys who can step in on a low contract. Pick number 42, going to be made by the Charlotte Hornets. Terrence Shannon Jr. is the pick. Big-time athlete. He's a wing who can handle, pass, defend, change ends in a flash. Got that physical profile to be a great defender in the league. Older college player, so lots of experience. I remember when I was doing a mock draft a few years ago, before he declared or before he decided to go back to school, I actually had him in a mock, so he's been on my radar for a while. One thing about Terrence, he's got some legal issues going on right now. You can Google all that, but one thing about Charlotte, you know, they haven't really been afraid to roll with guys in the past who have some legal things going on. So Terrence Shannon is my pick. Pick number 43, going to be made by the Miami Heat, and Ryan Dunn is the selection. This is a guy who does it all on defense. He rebounds, he blocks, he steals. Really bad shooter, though, basically from everywhere, even the free throw line. Kind of like a Herb Jones type of player, but with worse offense right now. If he ever learns to shoot, though, Ryan Dunn, he's going to be a problem. Pick number 44, going to be made by the Houston Rockets. Adem Bona is the pick. UCLA big man, super energy, good hands, sets hard screens, physical on the boards, lob threat, runs the floor hard, and hustles. He would be learning from Steven Adams in Houston. And what better guy to learn from if you're going to set hard screens and just be a beast out there. So I like the selection of Bona to the Rockets. Pick number 45, going to be made by the Sacramento Kings, and Dylan Jones is the pick. One of those small school guys. He went to Weber State, and I think he's one of those small school guys who could end up being one of the better players in this draft, in my humble opinion. Solid handle, good passing vision, finishes through contact, an okay shooter, really good rebounder. He had multiple double-digit rebound games, and he had one game where he had 23 boards. Okay, so I think he could end up being a pretty solid rotation player. Maybe a big steal this late in the draft. Pick number 46, the LA Clippers are selecting Harrison Ingram. He's a Stanford man, but he most recently played for a really good UNC team. Another one of those college players who just does a lot of things right on the floor, whether it's shooting, rebounding, you know, just being a good connective piece. He's a switchable player. So I think he's a good get in the 40s for the Clippers. Pick number 47, Orlando Magic. Percival Jaqueline Hall is the pick, and I like him as a solid stretch big who sets good screens, operates in the pick and roll, pretty high IQ player. He's maybe a little undersized at 6'8 or 6'9, so maybe doesn't offer a lot of rim protection, and he needs to improve on defense, but could be a solid get for the Orlando Magic. Pick number 48, San Antonio Spurs. Itzan Almanza is the pick. I like this dude's game. He's got good fundamentals, good feel for the game. Scores well inside with lots of post moves, has some playmaking to his game. This is a guy who is originally from Spain, but he played for the Ignite last year. Put up some okay numbers. Doesn't really have an outside game to speak of at this point. Not really a rim protector, even though he's 6'10", but would be a nice change of pace center to put behind Wembanyama, or he could even play with Vic, and you'd have like that inside-outside type of threat. Pick number 49, Indiana Pacers. A.J. Mitchell is the pick. Another small school guy who could surprise some folks. Combo guard who can play off the ball or on the ball. He shot it well from 3 last year. He moves well around the floor. Good cutter, gets himself open, gives good effort on defense. Not that athletic, but he is a solid guy to have on your bench. And the next pick is also going to be made by the Pacers. Ulrich Chomchi is the pick. He's a Cameroonian player who has only played 3 games for the NBA Academy in Africa, but in those 3 games, he's put up some pretty good numbers. Could still pull out of the draft and play overseas or maybe in college somewhere next year, but getting lots of draft buzz due to his size, his length, his potential. He's like a 7-foot dude who's super raw. One of those guys who's like 2 years away from being 2 years away, one of those players. But he's got a December birthday, so he would be the youngest player in this draft. He'd still be 18 at the beginning of the season if he were to declare. But he's a guy that you take a chance on at that 50 pick. Pick number 51 going to be made by the Washington Wizards. A.J. Johnson also played in Australia. He was a speedy guard, handles the ball well, finds open teammates, definitely has some skill. You know, just look at the numbers, not the best. So he needs to be more consistent, needs a little bit more experience under his belt. Yeah, he had that rough year in Australia, but he was a really good high school player. So maybe it's just like Jaden Hardy syndrome. You know, you were really good in high school, didn't do well in your year after high school, but then you get into the NBA and you're actually pretty solid. So who knows? Could be the same with A.J. Johnson. Pick number 52, Golden State Warriors, Jamal Shead is the pick. This guy comes from that T.J. McConnell, Javon Carter school, is just like the feisty backup point guard who can set the tone off the bench. Jamal, he's going to bring it every night. Good playmaker, really good floor general. Could stand to improve his shooting, but I mean, hey, who among us couldn't though, right? But I think he would be a great bench piece for the Warriors, and I think the fans would really like seeing him play as well. So pick number 53, Detroit Pistons, Melvin Aginsa is the pick. If you remember Alexi Aginsa, who played for the Pelicans several years ago, this is his cousin, actually. But he plays, he's from France, plays for the French League, but billed as a shot maker with 3-and-D potential, good size for a wing. And Detroit, you know, they had such success with another French player in Killian Hayes. Why wouldn't you just go to the well again and draft another French player? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Pick number 54, Boston Celtics are selecting Tristan Newton from that UConn championship team. This dude's a winner. He's a glue guy. I think he could fit on most any team, but he hustles, defends, plays hard. He's got some athletic limitations, but he's the type of leader that all teams need, and I think he could do pretty well for the Celtics. Pick number 55, Lakers are going with Antonio Reeves. He's a three-point shooter, deep range. That's always a need for a Lakers team that has AD and LeBron. But Reeves, he was the veteran on that Kentucky team. And this may surprise you, he is not related to Austin Reeves, at least that I know of. 2 Reeves are better than 1 for LA. Pick number 56, Denver Nuggets selecting Cam Spencer, also from that UConn team. One of the best shooters in this draft. His brother's actually on a 2-way contract with the Warriors. But high IQ, he shoots it, moves well, he gets teammates involved. He's a baller, he's a winner, undersized, not the best athlete, but tons of heart. One of those guys who, fans love him, teammates love him. I think he'd be a really good fit in Denver's system as a guard off the bench. Pick number 57, my team, the Grizzlies, selecting N'Faly Dante. So he has elite physical tools at 7 feet tall, massive wingspan, good coordination and strength. Chance to become a special defensive talent in the NBA if he can put it all together. But he's raw on offense, he's still figuring it out, but this would be a good guy for the Grizz to develop this late in the draft. And the final selection, Dallas Mavericks going with Isaiah Crawford from Louisiana Tech. Isaiah, I love the goggles, but he's a 3-and-D wing, good size, NBA body, solid defender. What more do you want from the last pick of the draft? Hey, there you have it. 58 picks. Thank you for sticking with me for Mock Draft 5.0. Let me know in the comments what you think and tell me how wrong I am about my picks and how much I hate your team and how stupid I am. Please, I read every one of them and then I cry myself to sleep at night. Thanks for joining me on the channel today, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video. Make sure you are subbed up so you never miss any of my scintillating NBA content. if you want a Half Court Report shirt, let me know. Send it to P.O. Box, Half Court Report, 123 Main Street, Fargo, North Dakota, 90210. And I'll catch you next time on the Half Court Report. Check out my other videos on the channel that will be in the boxes on this screen, and I will catch you later. Happy pre-draft days, everyone.